Most engineers stay stuck not because they're not good enough, they stay stuck because they're playing the wrong game. I've seen countless engineers stay stuck at the same levels for years on end, while a select few engineers grow way faster, even with less experience. And the difference usually has nothing to do with how good they are technically. If you're a software engineer that is feeling stuck or overlooked, on this channel, I break down those core skills and values that you need to incorporate to be seen as that trusted and respected engineer who can grow way faster than other engineers. So if that sounds interesting, consider subscribing to this YouTube channel where I break down such topics. In this video, I want to show you why most engineers stay stuck even when they're working hard, the invisibility patterns that engineers usually follow unknowingly, and the real skills that drive career growth. Because once you see this, you'll realize it's not about doing more work, it's about doing the right kind of work. And if you're new here, hey, I'm Ninad. I went from a junior to a senior engineer in under 2 years, not by doing hard work, but by focusing on things like visibility, communication, and impact. Now, I help other engineers go from quietly doing great work without recognition to becoming a more trusted and respected version of themselves who can get the growth that they deserve. So, mistake number one, playing the work harder game. I've made a couple more in-depth videos about this specific thing previously, and I'll link it up there if you're interested, but I'll break that down at a high level in today's video. Most engineers believe if I just continue writing good code and I work really hard, the recognition and promotion will eventually come. So they usually focus on taking on more tickets, putting out more PRs, putting out PRs at weird, ungodly times, expecting that their managers will notice just how hard they work, and just overall trying to be as reliable as they can. And yeah, while that makes you a reliable programmer, that does not help you become that respected, visible engineer that you want to become. Promotion does not come from amount of work you do, it comes from the perceived impact that others see that you're making. Let's consider this concrete example. Let's say two engineers are given the same task. One finishes all their tasks on time, talks about it in the stand-up. Good. The other engineer also finishes their tasks on time, but in the process, they talk about things like the trade-offs they considered while making those changes, why they chose to make specific changes. They asked questions to clarify requirements so they end up implementing something that actually benefits the company or the team. They align stakeholders in a way saying that, okay, this way of doing things is better than this way of doing it. And sure, even if they complete their task maybe 10 to 20% slower than the first engineer, in the process, they're driving so much visibility, so much trust and respect with all these other people that they just end up being seen as someone with a lot more impact than the first engineer, even though they're completing the same tasks. So it's just literally the same work, but a totally different perception of how that work is perceived by others. So you see why just focusing on working harder is not going to guarantee that promotion, because you might end up completing the same amount of work than some other engineer, but that hard work is not driving that sort of visibility and impact that you're expecting it to. Mistake number two, not creating clarity for others. I mean, most engineers focus on solving problems, but the one who gets respected and trusted by others is the one who focuses on driving clarity for other people as well. To give you an example, instead of just focusing on talking about technical stuff in meetings, these engineers, they focus on clarifying requirements, summarizing discussions, asking the right kinds of questions to be able to synthesize what technical solution might be the best solution to this particular problem, because the most optimal solution is not always the best solution. Sometimes doing it this other way might provide more ROI to this problem than doing it in the most optimal manner, or that follows best practices. Sometimes it's important to cut corners. I mean, not saying that's the norm, but understanding what will drive ROI will help you. So before jumping head down into the problem, understanding what the true pain points are and how to best solve these pain points will help drive clarity for others as well. Let's take a look at this other concrete example. Let's say you're in a meeting discussing a potential problem. All engineers usually just focus on talking about, okay, I would do it this way. This other engineer talks about doing, okay, I'll do it this particular way. But when you see that the meeting is just going around in circles and circles, everyone's just talking about a solution to a problem, but it's not really going in any productive way. You can be the engineer who does this and talks about the technical solution, or you can be the one who takes a step back and asks, just to clarify, the main decision here is performance or complexity. Because once you clarify that, you know what way to go down in terms of picking the right solution, because you're eradicating half of the other ones, if not more. So evaluating what's the best way to solve a problem, not just from the technical standpoint, but from the ROI standpoint, is what will set you apart. Because most engineers, they only ever think about jumping immediately into the problem and just solving that. Mistake number 3, waiting for permission. A lot of engineers usually just wait to be told what to do. They're usually not proactive because in their mind, it's not their job to be seen as a leader because they don't have the title. My friend, if you wait for the title is just going to take extremely long to come, because in engineering, people evaluate you from the lens of, are you operating at the next level before even promoting you? So if you're someone who is just not proactive, just waits to be given directions, you're not operating at a next level. I mean, sure, you might be learning how to code better or learning new technologies, but as you go up the ranks, the kind of tasks you're assigned are way different than just technical stuff. You have to lead projects, you have to come up with tasks, you have to understand what's the best way to do things. And for that, you have to be proactive, and you have to understand what direction to take this in next. So don't think that, okay, I'll only lead when I'm more senior. Start doing it immediately, even if you're a junior or intermediate. You don't need to wait to lead till you're senior. You don't have to wait for the opportunity. You create the opportunity for you. I'll give you a couple examples to help you understand this a bit better. So instead of just finishing a ticket or finishing some tasks, you can instead also focus on top of that on documenting the decisions on why you specifically complete that task in that specific way, the trade-offs you potentially evaluated, summarizing any discussions that might have come in discussing that particular task, unblocking others who might be stuck on some same problem that you personally were stuck on in before, proposing improvements to things that already exist and are common pain points across multiple different things. That could be automating those particular problems or flagging it to your manager to make it seem very important as well. And things like that, right? The perceived value from doing these sorts of things is way more than you just picking on more tickets and grinding through them. You want to be seen as someone who takes initiative to do what's best for the team and for the company and what actually helps in the long run. So even, let's say, when I mentioned documentation, you might have thought, shit, do I have to do more grunt work? Well, no, my friend, the documentation I'm talking about is a bit different because it helps document all the decisions that were taken on why a particular task was completed or a particular project was completed or done in the way it is. So in the future, when someone onboards onto that project, they have that decision log there to understand, okay, these trade-offs were analyzed, these risks and ROIs were evaluated to understand this option, let's say option 2 proposed in the doc was the best way forward, even though option 3 might have been a bit more optimal solution. So stuff like that, because it also helps a lot with knowledge sharing. You can easily share the doc. It's basically like a second brain for you to help share the knowledge so that you are not no longer the single point of failure for that particular project. But anyways, that's just an example of what you can immediately start doing as a junior intermediate and don't have to wait to be given that opportunity. You create the opportunity for yourself. And this, my friend, is what will build trust. If I had to summarize all the 3 different mistakes that I talked about, there is a common pattern across all of them. So most engineers, they usually think about, okay, how can I do my job better? That could be learning how to code better, learning new tools and technologies, learning new frameworks, and things like that. But the engineers who are growing the fastest, they think, how do I make others around me more effective in their work? So if you think about all the things we talked about from mistake 1 to 3, all of them had the pattern about driving more clarity for others, documenting stuff, making life easier for others, which in turn will significantly increase their perceived impact in their company and help build that trust and respect for them, which in turn will help them get the growth that they deserve and make them no longer stuck. So, yeah, most engineers stay stuck not because they lack skill, but they're focusing on the wrong thing. But once you start focusing on things like visibility, communication, and impact, your career trajectory will change quickly. And if you're intentional about becoming an engineer who is trusted, respected, visible, and can communicate confidently and effectively to drive clarity for others, book a call with me using the link in the description and we can see how it is working together. Best case, you will leave the meeting having clarity on the next best steps for you. Worst case, we'll just end up having a lovely conversation. So, with that being said, as always, I'm just here to help.